Nick Bertozzi, comic maestro. Sorry. This is Nick Bertozzi. I'm a cartoonist. I live in New York. I'm 35. Here, we'll draw a self-portrait. This is what I always draw when I'm signing comic books, which happens a lot when you're a famous cartoonist. Don't laugh. And I have to put the stink lines on there. Does that look like me? I have 80 of these in a box that I did over the period of 5 years, from age 9 to age 14. So I guess you might say I was doomed to be a cartoonist. The Fearless 3, #1, starring the Blue Terror, The Ghost, and Purple Mist. My very first comic. Blam, blam, blam. What? Why don't you die? Because you can't kill a ghost. Blam. More punching, with all 3 of them punching the guy at the same time. Thanks. You know, here's the plot hole in here. I just realized. You can't kill a ghost, and so the gun is shooting right through him. Mm-hmm. And yet, he's able to punch the bad guy. How does that work? Free mini poster inside. Draw your favorite heroes with the tracing paper inside. It's Ben the Furious with his dart gun, his gun, his knife, and his exploding shoelaces. Here's Superman by Nub. Here's Batman by N. Urban Bertozzi. I used many different pseudonyms, all variations on my own name. That's my first comic. You can go to school for cartooning, and I in fact teach at a cartooning school. But you don't need to go to school for cartooning. You have to have a strong, insatiable desire to put words and pictures together over and over and over and over again.
I was sitting in a class with all these kids that were interested in Spider-Man comics and you know, Thor and Green Lantern and stuff. And in walks this guy, Nick, and he said, you know, the other guy that was supposed to teach this class, he's not teaching it anymore, and I'm the replacement. And he comes in with this book on directing by David Mamet and this other book called Story by Robert McKee. So the first things that he writes on the board are archetype, stereotype. He's talking about narrative structure in comics and saying that linear comic narrative structure has been done many times, many times. And he said that what we're going for is something more experimental. And I remember the first day of class, he brought in a pile of comics, superhero comics, and passed one out to everyone. And some of these students, they were like, oh, these are great. You know, I have this in my own collection. And he said, now pick up the comic book and tear it to pieces. He said, we are going to destroy these idols, you know, and we're going to make new.
I didn't go to school for cartooning. I went to school for Spanish literature. I guess it helps. I read a lot of books in a different language, and it forced me maybe to look more at the structure of how stories are put together.
When you read a Nick Bertozzi comic, there's nothing else, that nobody else could be doing the kind of thing that he's doing. And I've always tried to figure out how to peg what that exactly is. And like, my first response is this very like sensitive and emo boy, but they all kind of have the same theme of this like very, you could tell that Nick is very excited by life in his comics. And when I say romance, I don't mean like love romance stories about like, you know, people fall in love. I mean the romance of life.
This is Sabina and Rena Bertozzi. Sabina, I have a very important question to ask you. What's it like having a dad as a comic book artist?
Bad. And bring him in jail.
You're gonna put him in jail?